This time on Captain Chaos's laboratory, we're going to be working on a Department 56 piece. Some of you might recognize it. It's Castle Blackstone. So, it has sound, but no lighting. Over here. So I'm going to turn it on, and then you press the start button. And you can see it's dark. Turn the volume down a little. So, we're going to open it up and see if we can fix the lighting and make sure that everything inside is working as it's supposed to. So we don't break or lose anything. The parts that come off will be removed so they don't get damaged. Make sure that all the trees are good. Good. Light's coming back. There we go. Alright, so this piece, move the plug too, comes out of the bottom. So I'm going to flip her over, and you can see there's a couple screws on the center ring and then 4 bigger screws in the outer ring, and then you can break the glue and remove the entire base. So I'm going to look for the safest place to lay it, which appears to be this way. And we're going to remove the inner ring first. Now it's supposed to have 3 screws. This one only has 2. So if I have one of the same size, I will replace the missing screw. And on this inner ring, you have the pinwheel, which is not attached, and the light, and the motor. Wiring looks good, so I'm going to plug it back in and turn it on. And we're going to see if the motor spins, and then also see the light. So the motor is spinning. So you can see it spinning. I'm going to screw the pinwheel back on. There you go. So basically how this works is, if you've never seen a pinwheel, they're pretty common. Especially on older stuff from like the 70s and 80s. My God, these things were everything. But a light shines through, and then you get your rotating patterns and colors. And then in the bottom here is fiber optics. And the fiber optics are fed throughout the castle, the trees, and the light shines through, lines up with the fiber optic. Voila, you have your rotating colors. It's old technology. You might be able to see the fiber optics down at the bottom of the hole. They incorporated a new technology where they use an LED light that illuminates through a pinwheel to give you a truer color at a lower amperage draw and temperature rating. I'm just dusting off the pinwheel because it's just dusty. So, I'll set that out of the way. Now we're going to check the light. And the light is held in with the springs. It should come out. There we go. So I just pull it straight out and turn it sideways, and then try and remove the metal ring carefully without breaking the light. You don't want broken glass in your hands. So, and this light is hard to read. 12 volt, 6 watt. It's a 12 volt AC adapter. Most likely the light's burned out. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm taking a light and bridging across the positive and negative, where it's AC, it doesn't really matter, and there's no light. So, I need to see if I have any of these left. I used to have some. I've replaced lights on... I used to own this. This isn't mine. But many years ago I used to own the Castle Blackstone, and my light broke and I had to replace it. So I'm going to see if I still have some of my old spares. I may not. And if I don't, I'll see if I can locate one. And if I can't, we'll make a new light. Maybe we can make it out of LEDs with a small rectifier, so that way it draws less power and runs cooler. So these things get nice and warm. So, but yeah, we have a bad light. This is a really easy one to repair. As you can see, it's very simple. And if you need to, this long nose motor, you can get Amazon, eBay. Just so you know, it's an AC 12 volt. It's a 5/6 RPM. It's a CW/CCW, which means counterclockwise and clockwise, which means if the motor gets stuck, it'll turn the other direction. So it rotates directions. And it's a 2 watt, and it's a 50-60 hertz motor, so it works in both American and other hertz. So I'm going to remove the ring from the spring so I don't accidentally drop it and lose it. So I'm going to set that aside too. This is a standard plug-in. If you've never seen one, it's just got 2 pins that just sit in those 2 holes. This is a very common style light bulb, and then they use the spring cap to keep pressure into the hole so it doesn't fall out. So if you've never seen this style, or you've never opened your Castle Blackstone because it hasn't burned a light bulb out yet, this is what it looks like. Now if you do an LED conversion, or you buy one of these as an LED, you might have a flicker issue, because LEDs only work in one direction, and this is AC, so it's going back and forth. So in some cases you might have to put a rectifier in between on one of these wires here to stop the LED from flickering. So if you have this and you don't want to deal with any flicker issues or what have you, just get a replacement incandescent bulb like this, so that way you don't have to deal with any other issues. So bear with me for a minute. I'm going to go find my small box of spare parts and see if I have some more of these lights in there. Be back in a second. Alright, I'm back. I am actually out of this size, but this is the size, and this is the smallest ones I have left. These are 12 volt. This one's 12 volt. This is what I mean. Be careful when you pull that cap off that you don't break it. This is how this one was sitting in the box. It got broken in the box with the other lights. This one's a 120 volt version, but it still has the same pin setup. So like I said, it's a very common setup. But to show you what I mean by touching these across, is this is an AC bulb as well. It works AC or DC. And if you touch them across the gap, it lights up. So you can test your light bulb by doing that to see if maybe this broke, because this does break. The wires are just crimped inside, and to be honest, they're usually not that good. I've worked on these a lot. This light and this light that's broke came out of a bicycle that you pedal, and the generator made them light up, so they basically flicker. This is track lighting from a house. This came out of a Halloween prop that pointed 2 orange lights at a pumpkin that was 12 volts, and that's why it's got an orange clip-on lens. These things are used in lots of stuff, and they're readily available. They come in different voltages, wattages, styles, incandescent LED, or high-powered, like this is a standard incandescent bulb, this broken one that's sticking out. This one in here is a high-powered one. It's super bright. Matter of fact, on cop cars, the light bars, or even fire trucks or ambulances, the white lights that they use for looking down alleys, or what they call takedown lights on the front of the light bar, up until recently they were these. and then they changed them to LED lights. So, but anyway, I'm gonna have to order this guy, and there is no part number on here. All it says on here is 12 volts, 8 watts. So what you have to do when you order it is you need to measure it. Use a micrometer, because it's gonna, or if you have a metric tape measure, use one of those too. But most of these are measured in millimeters. You need to measure the diameter of this face, and that's pretty much the only important part. I mean, technically this light would work in here, like so, and voila. But it might be too big because it's really close to that shaft. Now, because this light is broken, I could turn it around, plug it back in, grab that pinwheel. The box that I had some other stuff in it. That's what this is over here. That's probably why the light got broke. And screw this back on. So. There you go. And to see what it looks like inside, we'll stick it in. Line it up with the fiber optics. And this round disc that I removed has a cam or a tooth, so you can't put it in backwards. If you try and put it in backwards, it won't line up. And just so you can see what this looks like, we'll turn off some lights. And 2 and 3. So I'm going to try and hold the bottom so it doesn't fall out. So the white light illuminates the castle, because that's below the pinwheel, which allows the castle to illuminate. Then the trees, as you see them flickering and changing colors, the trees have fiber optics in them. This tree and this tree. The front tree doesn't. And that gives you your twinkling effect in the trees. So, as you saw, I'm not using the right size light. The one size bigger light will work. It's just really close to that shaft. As long as it doesn't touch the shaft and cause a rub where it will slow the motor down, which means it's going to increase amperage draw, you can change it to a different size. Now, that spring clamp isn't going to fit. So, your other option is you can still use it if your light has a lens. You can put the clamp on it and it'll press down. The other option is the one that's in there, the lens is missing because the light's broke. You can hook the springs to the edge and it just set the light ring to the side. So you have options. It's your house. You can make it work any way you want. Here at the Random Junk Channel, it's literally, that's why I keep this random, as most people will call it junk. I call it stuff I might use in the future, to show you how you can fix things with other products. So, because they do sell this style light without the lens, and then they have it with the lens, like this one. And you can even, what I mean is you can use that to compress the center. You don't have to. The light will stay in. This is just a safety, probably for shipping. But you can get these in different diameters. You can even get this in the diameter of this and switch it to the bigger light if you want. But I am going to locate the correct diameter so that way when I ship it back the light doesn't fall out. So, but I wanted you to see an option and also to see what this thing looks like if you've never seen one before, because they don't make it anymore. It's an older piece, but when it first came out I really wanted it, and then I realized it didn't fit my motif, and then I ended up reselling it. So, but one more time, tip it sideways so you can see how it illuminates through the door, the windows, the front gate, the windows, the back where it illuminates the base of the tree and the moss, the back windows, and on the roof you have the notch, which they probably do that for venting the heat that the light puts out. And then of course you got your nice LEDs. So like I said, it's a nice piece. I don't particularly care for the sound, but most of my pieces sit with no sound. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the right one ordered, as you see how easy it is to fix. And if I find a light and it's the right one, I'll put a link to it in the description below. But you saw how easy it is. So when I get the right one, I'm just going to pull the bottom out, pop this guy in, put it all back together, put it back in this box, and send it back to Texas. So until the next one, thanks for watching. All right, it's been a couple of days, and as you can see, it's a little bit smaller light because it's the correct one. So let's turn it off so you're not blind. So there she be. There's the bad one. It's the same bulb. I will put a link in the description below, but it is a 10 watt halogen. It's an MR8, so with a 9-degree angle. I went with a 9-degree angle for the fact it's pointing at fiber optic, because they also come at a 23-degree angle, and that's how far out the beam spreads. You don't need a really big angle since it's just shining up fiber optic. You're not illuminating a room. But since I'm doing this addition, if you need to access in here, if you remove these 4 screws, the other one's under, you can remove this center cage and get access without breaking this glue around the edge. So I'll put this back in, and like I said, it's got a tooth right there. Allows you to stick it in and it goes in flush. But like I said, these 4 screws, and then you can access the mechanism or the power part. So, but before I put it in, let's put the and make it permanent. Let's put the cap back on it. That's the retention ring, so that way it doesn't fall out when I ship it back. So, but that is the correct light. The only difference between the one I have here and the original, this one's a 10 watt and the original was an 8, and no matter where I searched, I could not find an 8 watt light anymore. I found 6 and 5 and 10 and all the way up to 35 watts in this little guy, which is way overkill and go blind, and also the heat would be insane. So you do have choices in the bulb. If you want a weaker bulb, so it's not as intense, you can get the 6 watt. If you want it brighter, this is the 10, so it's slightly brighter. But you can also get a 12, a 20, a 35 is the maximum for this size bulb. But like I said, 35 would be overkill, and the heat coming off the lens would probably melt this plastic pinwheel disc. So again, the link for this specific light will be below, and also it has in its description the 2 different angles. So the screw's so tight it threads into the plastic as well, and it came out, so I couldn't get to line up with the shaft. There we go. So you shouldn't need the large angle, just a small angle. Wow. Take 3. There we go. Done. So we'll stick it back in. Line up the tooth so it sits flush. And then we'll screw this back together. Then I'll look for the missing screw. I'll go through my stuff and I'll get it back to full completion. back on here in a second with the correct light once I get at least 2 of these screws in to hold the base. You can see the trees are changing color. So if I couldn't have found this light, I would have left that broken one in here. I'm going to put it on its back so I can put the other screw in. But it's too bright. That broken one is like 50 watts because it comes out of a light bar from a cop car. So that would get really hot really fast. But anyhow, that concludes, for the real, the Castle Blackstone from Department 56. How to access the bottom. Do you only need to remove the inner screws, and where to get this light. And then of course you saw the motor, which is easily accessible. That way you can get a replacement motor, and the part numbers on the side. But alrighty, thanks for watching.